What is going on, guys? Thanks for checking out another video. As you obviously know, got some downtime due to this bad boy. So just to bring some content, I thought it'd be fun to do a questions and answers. So I put it out there on Instagram at DeeO. Obviously, if you're watching this, you're a little too late. But I try to be pretty active on there, as well as my Snapchat at Return of DeeO. But my lovely wife Allison here is going to help me, and she's going to read the questions, and I'm going to go ahead and answer them. And we didn't like pre-screen these or whatever. I asked this maybe like 5 hours ago or something, so we're just going through every single one. There's probably going to be some silly ones, probably some that might like annoy me or whatever, but we're just going to go ahead and do it. So without further ado, let's start on it.
Okay, first one is, do you get more or less motivated after an injury, especially after back-to-backs?
That's a pretty good question, because in the moment it's really discouraging. Like right now it's easy to be like, well, I've been going this long. Well, not this long, it's been like 2 weeks, but it's like it kind of makes you rethink things. Like, I just want to give it up. But then, you know, the races come up this weekend and you're watching Houston and it's like, okay, I want to do that. And then I'll get comments on some of my older videos, and then I'll like be watching my own older video, which might seem a little weird, but sometimes I do it and I'm just like, oh yeah, I can't wait to go back and, you know, hit brush again or whatever. So it really just kind of fluctuates. You gain your enthusiasm to ride, and then you lose and you gain it back. But I know as time comes closer that I'm actually ready to get on a bike, it's going to ramp up very exponentially.
What's the best track you've ever been to?
I guess it depends on like your definition of best track, and obviously that's subjective. Just to say like totally best, I would say Thunder Valley, simply because it's a national pro level track. But the track that I had the most fun on was probably Brush, but also that was my first and only time thus far on it. So, you know, it's like, you could say like Thunder's your favorite track, but you go there so much you sort of, you know, get tired of it. But Brush was exciting and new. So I'll just say Brush, just because it was something different. And but yeah, as far as like national level, of course Thunder Valley is the only national level track I've rode. So
Austin Says More asked, why did you start YouTube?
I started with YouTube just, I actually started doing it with Halo stuff. I just like to show my gameplay. I thought I was a pretty decent player, so I just like to do little montages with that, and that's really started YouTube. And then that moved into Call of Duty, and then that moved into MX vs ATV, and then that moved into moto vlogs where we are now. So I just like to, I guess honestly, just like most people, you like to show off your gameplay and what you're capable of. So I started off showing off Halo stuff, and then it just grew from there.
Lewis Monroe 178, will we see a return of Reflex?
No, absolutely not. Video games are done on my channel. I've thought maybe a little bit about streaming. I can't even play right now with my wrist, but probably not even Reflex. If I were to stream something, maybe like Sim or Battlefield, but honestly, I have no desire to do that. I don't play video games on my own time, especially not making videos, but no way on a return of Reflex.
MX Grant 23 has a suggestion instead of a question. You should put GoPros on people at tracks to get riding clips while you are hurt.
I've had a few people say that, and I gotta be straight up with you guys. GoPro footage to me is the most boring thing in the world. Like, sometimes I'll watch, like, let's say Adam Cincerillo's GoPro of like the Seattle Supercross or something like that, because that can be entertaining. But even my own GoPros, when I know like what's going on in my head, and like my Strictly Laps series, when I watch those back, I almost fall asleep. Like, watching GoPro footage is so boring to me. I think what makes it exciting is when you have a story you're telling, which is the moto vlog part. Like, I think it'd be a lot of fun to do with my dad, because you guys know my dad, and he tries really hard when he's riding to talk to the GoPro because he knows that that's entertaining. But just watching GoPro laps, I don't know. I don't find that exciting. I don't know. Maybe you guys do. But you can find so many GoPro videos on YouTube, but like Murphy. But like if I put one on Brandon, I feel like I'd have to like tell a story about it and whatever else. Just having straight laps of GoPro footage isn't that exciting to me.
Chris Conduit MX, what's your favorite thing about motocross?
I don't know about just picking one favorite thing. Just I think it's a pretty general answer, but just all of it. I mean, the friends you make at the track, the connections you make, the freedom you have when you're on the bike and you're just thinking about like the next corner or the next jump, and you're not thinking about, going to work on Monday or the essay you have due next week or whatever. It's a pretty freeing experience, but I guess just being in control of yourself and the bike and just, having fun. I guess that's what it boils down to. It's my favorite part about motocross is having fun with it.
Scott Croft said, what's the most technical track in Colorado that you've rode?
I'm not really sure technical. I don't feel like any tracks here have really been technical. Maybe like Hopper's Arena Cross track. That's a kind of weird answer though. I don't really know like what I would consider a technical track. I don't feel like any tracks here are really all that technical. I wish I had like a riding buddy here like Brandon who could maybe chime in with me. I don't have a good answer for that. I don't think any of the tracks that I've rode are really technical. I guess maybe again I'll go with Brush simply because it gets beat up. I didn't ride it on a race day, but just from what I've seen how gnarly and ruddy it gets, that could be pretty technical, but I haven't rode it in those conditions, so I don't really have a good answer for you.
Heckman Productions, why are you so fast?
Just been riding a long time, man. Thanks, Heckman. Always trying to get faster, always trying to improve. Not to like toot my own horn, but I think I'm a okay rider, mid-pack B rider. Could be faster, could be slower, but been riding a long time, so that definitely helps with that.
CJ Custom Trucks, when are you going to get a new truck if you do get a Dodge Cummins?
My Ford is paid off. No reason to get a new truck. The Ford is awesome. I love my truck. I probably absolutely wouldn't get a Dodge Cummins, but I don't have a monthly payment on my truck, so it'd be really silly to get a monthly payment when my truck works fine. So no future truck in the sights as of now.
I'm Brody. If something major happened to the Honda, would you rebuild it or get a new bike?
Rebuild it, simply because there's so much money in the Honda otherwise. Like, knock on wood that nothing like this happens, but the Honda has like 50 hours on it, but like if the top or bottom end blew or something, there's so much money in that bike within just like, the hydraulic clutch and the ride engineering triple clamps and the lowering link and all that stuff. It definitely wouldn't make sense to go out and get a whole new bike. It would be the smarter decision to rebuild it for sure. I wouldn't do it though. I would have someone else do it.
DDG14, favorite aftermarket part on your bikes?
That's a pretty good question. I don't know if you would call it aftermarket, but let's just say the graphics. I mean, you have stock graphics, then you have like personalized graphics, and all the aftermarket stuff is sick. The Yoshimura pipes on the 450 and the wheels and the lowering link and the hydraulic clutch, just all that stuff. But really, like when you want like your own personal flair, it's got to be your graphics. Like that's what people see when they look at the bike, and you can do whatever you want with the power or handling with the suspension and stuff like that. But it's cool to show up and people be like, oh, that bike looks sick, or my bike's too lit or whatever. So graphics.
Smith Ride, will you be at Denver Supercross? I want to meet you.
I'll be there. I will absolutely be there. Wouldn't miss it.
Cody S74, SX Futures next year if possible.
I don't know. Kind of with this injury, I've kind of thought to myself more about like racing, and if racing is something I'm interested in. You guys know I've always been a pro practicer in the past, and I might just kind of focus on that and having fun with it. But the Futures would be really cool if it comes back, because to race in Mile High Stadium would be quite a trip. So I guess honestly, like if I was feeling good and everything, I would like to do it. I would like to at least do that, once when it's available. So I guess we'll see next year.
Devin Ward 217, do you have any more plans for the 450, like motor work?
No, with 450s, you really don't need to do any motor work. Honestly, you don't even need like an exhaust or whatever. You guys probably even know some factory bikes actually detune to make them less powerful. As a mid-pack B rider, you don't need to do anything for the engine. I'm not gonna like get a big bore, higher compression or anything, but other than that, nothing in mind to do for the 450. I have some graphics. We were gonna do some special graphics for Futures, but I'm still probably gonna make those graphics happen. So I think that'll be the next thing happening on the bike. But Bike's pretty pristine how it is, so not much else going on with it.
This is a long name. Jace Heinrichs, aka Blur something. Will you ever travel out of state to race?
To race, probably not, man. I'm pretty sure you're in Houston this week, aren't you? I know you're somewhere else. Anyway, probably not to race. I did go to Utah to ride a few years back, and we also went to the Supercross. I'd like to do something like that, but to race, that's so expensive and to me stressful, and so you travel and pay all this money, and then you get your practice, and then you get your motos. If it was up to me, I'd rather just travel out with the bike, go to another state, like let's even just say New Mexico, just something closer, or Arizona or something, and ride for a few days. I think I'd rather do that than go for an actual race.
167, favorite track you've ever ridden, reason why? You're awesome, BTW.
Well, thank you. Again, I'm going to go with brush on that one, and that's it was just fun because I've never rode it before. It had really good dirt. It was that like ride day, so it was a lot of fun, a lot of cool people there, and just riding a track that I've never rode before, and it was a good track. It wasn't, just some unprepped backyard track. It was a good track, good flow, fun jumps, and it's always fun to go to a new track you've never been to before and like get to size up the triple and hit it for the first time and then start throwing whips over it and then riding with your buddies and stuff. So definitely brush, and I definitely want to make sure that as soon as I can, again with the wrist, I make it to the next brush ride day because that track was sweet. So brush.
Adam Aston, 2 or 4 stroke?
The 4, man, for sure.
Tucker Francis BMX, do you ever plan on trying to qualify for a national or regional race?
Nah, again, like we talked about, I've said like in the past, like Road to Loretta's, that's always been a joke. That's never been anything serious. And especially since I would do like the 25 plus class, it's an open class, so you have people like Will Hahn winning that class, or like Mike Brown, just people that I would have absolutely no hope against. And even when I ride locally and race locally, I'm in the BC of 25 plus, and they have the A group, which is like Todd Bannister, who goes and tries to qualify for pro nationals and pro supercrosses and stuff. So definitely no chance for me on those, and just not really into racing anymore, I guess.
Gram of salts, how many broken bones have you had?
So I did the wrist about 10 years ago. That was the radius and the ulna, so 2 there. The collarbone was 3, and then the radius, ulna, and lunate now is 6. I've had other injuries, but those, and the rib was just flared up, and it was just like, well, don't forget about me. So 7. It really did. 7 broken bones.
It's LX on. Do you plan on trying to make collabs with either bigger or new starting channels?
Fooligan hit me up a while ago. He just surpassed 1 million subscribers, so congrats to you, Fooligan. He talked about coming and riding in Colorado, and if he did do that and rode dirt bikes, I would definitely want to meet up with him. I don't know if it'd be like a legit collab, like he would obviously be in my video, but I don't know if he would put me in his video and like shout me out, but other than that, not really. I'm always down to like do videos with local people. I don't know if someone is like, do you want to be in my video or can I be in your video? Yeah, I'm fine with that, but I don't like set things up like meet me at the track and we'll do this. It's just more spur of the moment kind of stuff, I guess.
What's your favorite jump you've ever hit?
Favorite jump I've ever hit? That's interesting, because I've never really thought that much about it. That triple at Brush was a lot of fun because you could get sideways on it and it was a pretty easy jump. Trying to think like if there's any massive jumps I've hit that were a lot of fun. I really don't have a good answer. I don't think any jump really stands out in particular. Just it kind of depends on the day and the track and the conditions, like if it's windy and you can throw whips or not or whatever, but don't really have a good answer for it, I guess.
What does your wife think about your injuries?
What do you think?
No, you have to answer what you think.
I think that she just feels bad for me. Like, obviously she's bummed. It costs us money and time and is a pain, but I think that more than anything, she just feels bad when I'm going through pain, and that might be a cheesy answer, but I think that's more of it. It's not like she's mad, like, I can't believe you crashed again. She's more like, I'm sorry that you crashed again. Can I tie your shoe for you? And I'm like, yes.
True. Did you go to college, and if so, which one?
Yep, I went to the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs, UCCS. So that is a sister school of CU Boulder, which is a very more well-known school. But it's the same school system and everything, just a smaller campus. So yeah, I went to college there and graduated in 2012.
Has anyone told you you look beautiful today? Yes, someone did.
Alec actually texted me. Yeah, I know that one was from Gage. Thank you, Gage. But Alec texted me and was like, you look great today, just in case you were wondering or something like that. So thank you guys. Very sweet of you.
What's going to be your next bike?
Definitely no plans for a new bike. I still have over $3,000 to pay off on the Honda. As you guys know, I still have the YZ125. I got that in 2005. I've had that. I got the KX. I had that for a few years. The Honda I'm planning to keep for quite a long time. I have no idea of a new bike anywhere within the realm of possibility of getting one.
Who do you want to win the AX East West and 450 championship?
Whoever wins the most races. I don't know, man. I think that it'll be Cianciarulo, Faulkner, and then Webb. I mean, that's pretty obvious answers on there, but it's not like I want anyone in particular to win it. I just want to see good racing, and whoever happens to have the most points at the end of the year, they deserve it.
What was your first bike, and how old were you?
I don't know the year, but a Yamaha PW50, and I would have been 3 years old.
Where can I find you when Supercross comes to Denver?
I don't know exactly where my seats are. If you follow me on Snapchat and stuff, when I was at the Minnesota race, I posted like, hey, I'm in section 132, come find me. I'll probably do something like that again. I'll be walking around and wandering around, so I'll post like where I'm sitting, so if people want to come up and say hey, because obviously I'd like to meet as many people as possible, so I'll make sure I try and put that out there and meet up with you in particular, as well as anyone else who would like to.
If you could join any factory team, what would it be?
Whoever paid me the most. I think just from the outside looking in, I think that Geico Honda, they always have like really good looking bikes, really good looking gear and everything. I don't know. I always think that they have a good looking operation, and obviously you're gonna say I'm biased because it's Honda, but I mean that's a little bit true. But then also the factory Honda racing team of like Ken Roxon and Cole Seeley, again, just I don't know, just the way the Hondas look. And I know Roxon and Seeley have their own gear deals, so they can work with whatever. But I just like the way the Hondas look. But if I was fast enough to get a ride like that and they were paying me, I wouldn't say no to any of them. They're all awesome bikes and all awesome teams for sure.
How do you feel about Glen Helen and Muddy Creek getting taken out of the moto schedule?
I know some people are really mad about Glen Helen, especially because it's like motocross, you know, what you think of with big hills and stuff, but I've heard poor things about it. I've never been there myself, but it is a bummer if they're going to be replacing it with Paula, Fox Raceway. I think that's the one they're replacing it with, simply because I don't think it's as much of like an actual, what you'd consider a motocross track. It'd be kind of like replacing Thunder Valley with, let's say, like IMI, which is no elevation, a bunch of jumps, just that kind of thing. But I think it's cool to switch things up. I do wish it was with a different track. I don't even know what track I would say. I'm pretty sure they're bringing the one to Florida, which will be dope. But I think it's cool to have a switch up, and we'll see how it plays out. I know that they've had different tracks in the past few years. So, and as far as Muddy Creek, I don't really have any feelings with that, just because I don't know that track as well. But I think change is usually good. So we'll see how it goes this year, I guess.
Most difficult thing to do with a broken wrist?
Most things I can still do pretty well, just slower. Like showering. So it's not just that it's a broken wrist, it's that everything hurts with it. You have absolutely no strength. Like to hold a bar of soap and like you can't even like reach yourself is really hard and really frustrating. Putting on a hoodie is really hard because it gets caught and twisted, and when you twist, the whole thing hurts. But I would say honestly, The hardest thing to do has been to tie my right shoe. Well, maybe both my shoes, but I can like get the process down and like get the knot and bunny ears, but you don't have the strength to like grab it and pull it really hard. You're just like barely pulling it. So I can tighten it like enough to hold it, but my shoes are loose, which is just a pet peeve that drives me crazy is when my shoes are loose. So I'll usually like tie it in the morning, take Murphy out, and then before I go to work, Allison has to retie it for me, which is why I made that joke earlier. But yeah, you can still do most things. It just is a little bit slower. Everything sucks a lot more, but tying my shoes is just super frustrating.
How are you feeling after the crash?
Yeah, it's been just over. It's almost 2 weeks now since the crash. Obviously, I have some pain pills for the surgery, which is helping, but it comes and goes. As you've seen, like, I'm not faking it when the rib hurts. Sometimes the rib will be totally fine, and sometimes I'll shift or cough or something, and it just feels like it slips and just jabs me, and that hurts a lot. The wrist is just kind of there, but luckily, other than that, like my head and neck, my knee, my hip was hurting for a while. It feels good now, but I mean, obviously your normal soreness, and I think more than that now is just the realization of how long I'm going to be off the bike, which stinks even more than the initial pain of hitting the deck.
How long have you been racing? How long were you in the C class and now the B class?
So just like I've said a few times, you guys, I've never really been super into racing. I started racing, I think, when I was 4 or 5, something like that. Started riding when I was 3, racing when I was 4 or 5. And racing has always been an off and on thing. My dad and I always rode, and then we'd race on select weekends. And a few years there, we were pretty serious into it, hitting almost every round, and moving up through the 60 class and everything. And then during high school, middle school and high school, kind of took a hiatus. I focused more on like basketball and school sports like that. But then when I came back because I'd never raced an 80, and I didn't race the 125 until I was like older and graduated from college and stuff. So I pretty much skipped the C class. I went from racing my 60 before they were 65s, they were just 60 cc's. I was racing the C class in that, and then when I came back on the 125, that's when I was doing like the Aztec Winter Combat, and I was kind of in that open novice class. And then I don't even remember the situation. Maybe when I switched to the 450, I just kind of bumped myself up there. I felt like I was fast enough. I had won a few of the Winter Combat novice races and just booted myself up to the B class. So it wasn't like I followed a specific timeline. It was just like took some years off, got on the bike, felt fast, moved up, and just kind of found my groove in that mid-pack B class.
Coolest race moment?
Maybe, I don't know, because I was gonna say like ripping a hole shot is always a really cool, like even though it was just a heat race at the arena cross when I ripped that hole shot, and then immediately got passed and then fell. But I'm not sure I'm sure there have been some cool ones, like cool passes and stuff. I'm trying to name one in particular, but nothing exactly comes to mind. But give me a second here. I'm still trying to think of like a favorite race moment. I guess one that was pretty cool was Pikes Peak Supercross. I think 2 years ago, they had a little section. It was like a double single, and some of us were double tripling it. And I had gotten a poor start, and I was trying to pass my way up, and I tripled into the corner right behind my buddy Will, who I always end up battling with. And he like made the corner, and I came just inches off of his back tire, and in the moment I had passed one of the 25 plus A riders as I tripled into the corner, and it was just a really cool moment hitting that triple and making a pass.
Nice! Whoa, cut, go!
Daniel Olszewski, who I believe finished second in that first moto, ways back there now. Trying to work his way past some of the pro riders even. Looks like William Lane in the number 3 spot in that B and C class right now. Olszewski making a bit of a move there, jumped to the inside past the 27, which I believe is actually going to be Saul Gillespie. That was jumping past a pro rider.
How throwing your first whip went and felt?
I can't even remember like what my first whip was because I never really whipped on the 125, and then when I got on the KX450, it's just like things just started happening more and more, and I'd be looking at a photo and I'm like, oh wow, I'm actually like the back end's coming out pretty far, and then next time I rode I'd do it again and look at a photo and it's like, oh, that's even better. And so I don't even remember like the first time that I threw a good whip, but now it feels pretty natural. Like even hitting the whopper at Thunder, like if I hit it straight up and down, that feels weird compared to throwing whip. And I know I'm not like throwing it upside down or throwing it nasty, but even just getting a little bit out, it's just like, that's just what I'm used to doing every time over the jump. So when I hit it straight up, that's more like, oh, that was kind of weird, just kind of stiff over at the jump. But once you kind of have that initial movement down, it's a lot of fun. It's I don't know, kind of a freeing experience just to have the back end float out there and feel safe and confident that you know it's going to come back and land just like you want it to.
How many injuries have you had in your life?
So going off of just dirt bikes, well, I don't know. I'm assuming that's what you guys are asking, but my first bad one was yet again the wrist 10 years ago. So that was a bad one. So I had that. Before the wrist, actually, I had dislocated my left shoulder and I messed up my right shoulder, which then eventually led to like 4 dislocations playing basketball and just doing other stuff with my left shoulder. So I finally had to get that fixed, and then my right one would pop out and back in, so I finally had to get surgery on that. So those, the collarbone, the knee, the herniated discs, the wrist again. I think those are all the main moto ones. I have like bruised bones in my feet playing basketball. I have tendonitis in my left knee from basketball. I was feeling like I did something else in basketball. Oh no, when I was really young, a dog almost ripped my ear off and had to have it stitched back on, but you know, just a few things there, I guess.
If you could move anywhere in the U.S., where would it be and why?
Like if I had to, because I really like Colorado. It's close to my parents. You guys know I'm close to my parents and the tracks and everything. But Allison and I went on vacation to Portland, Oregon about a year ago, and I just really liked it there. I think that would be somewhere that I could mesh well with. I think the Pacific Northwest is a pretty cool region area. So I think that if I had to move, that's probably where I'd be looking at going.
Do you watch any motorsports besides MX, i.e. F1, MotoGP, endurance racing?
Currently, no. I was talking to some of my friends. I really want to get into Formula One. I watched that series on Netflix, which I'm sure most of you did, that Formula One Drive to Survive, which was awesome. I really wanted to get more into F1, but I don't have ESPN, so I missed the races. And there's just so much information, and I really wanted to get into it, and then yet again this happened and kind of threw everything off. But I think that Formula One I would like to try and follow and know the drivers and the teams, because seems like a very cool sport. I think would be a lot of fun, and then maybe someday even go to the Texas track and watch. I know that's not like the most exciting track or historic track, but at least it'd be something that would be actually manageable. Is going to watch Formula One in Texas. So.
I'm from New England, and you might have heard our famous track in Maine, MX207. Thoughts?
It'd be a fun one to ride. Not like that'll ever happen unless I like moved out there, because of course that's way far across the country. But yeah, I've seen like the Moto Limelight Danny Stu edits from MX207, and I'm pretty sure that, you know, the Ripa, Jimmy D, I don't know why I like forgot that. I think he's done some videos out there and stuff, but yeah, I know they build up the track real sweet. Looks like it'd be a lot of fun. Looks like it's pretty sandy, and I would probably struggle really hard, but it'd be fun to ride, of course.
Worst injury?
It's got to be this one. The wrist last time was just the radius and the ulna, and they plated it, you know, pretty much your typical plates and pins like you've heard millions of times. This one is a lot more intricate, and it sounds like it's going to end up in a wrist fusion where I won't have very much movement in my wrist. So unfortunately, I think this is the banger, even worse than the ACL.
Reflex style track review at the Langston compound when you're back on the bike?
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. I know I've told you guys, like, I'm not going to do video game stuff, but what Jesse, I'm assuming that's coming from Jesse, is talking about, a few times I did like a real life track review and kind of made it like reflex and had the overlay and stuff. I definitely want to ride out at Jesse's place. It looks like he takes a lot of care of his track out there. So once I'm back on the bike, Jesse, yes, I definitely need to come up north and ride your track, and maybe even I'll hop on a quad if you'll let me. I think that'd be something kind of funny that people would enjoy to see.
Are you pumped about the Axel Hodges jump that he's gonna do for the world record?
No. I did see something on Instagram about like breaking Evel Knievel's record or something. I don't even know what it's about. Not that it's Axel, just I don't really care about that stuff. I'm sorry.
Have you ever considered or considering selling the bike and not riding?
Not seriously. I think it would have to take a lot to like totally get rid of the bike. Like before I got rid of the bike, I would like totally chop out racing even as a thought. And then like if I don't even know, I don't even want to like say anything bad that could happen, but let's just say the next step would be no more track riding, and I'd only ride like the trails with my dad. But that would be like a step that would happen before totally getting rid of the bike. To like just completely take dirt bikes out of my life would be like I would have to have double arm amputation or something for that to happen. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
How long were you in the hospital?
It really wasn't that long. I went in, they got me like right in, took the x-rays. We had to wait like 30 minutes for the x-rays because they send them off to someone else to read them and give them to you when it's just in the ER. Maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours. It really wasn't that bad. It was a pretty short visit, which was nice.
What about for the surgery?
For the surgery, I wasn't even thinking that. That was a long one. My surgery was scheduled for 12:45. We had to get there at 10:45. We got there late, mostly because of me. So let's just say we got there at 11. It was earlier than that. 11, my surgery was pushed back at least an hour. When did I tell you I actually went into the operating room? 2:45? Going into the operating room before they put the mask on me, so I was totally coherent. I saw the clock at 2:45. What time did I probably actually wake up at? Like 7? 6? Hey, watch out. So like 6, so that was 7 hours there. And then that was just when I woke up.
Sorry, I think you woke up at 7.
Okay, woke up at 7, so that's 8 hours, and then like still in the recovery room and stuff too. So what did that just put us at? Like maybe 8.5, 9 hours?
Yeah, I think it was about 7:30, 7:40 or something by the time we left.
So like, yeah, almost, yeah. It was a long time. It was a really long time.
Hey, love your riding vids. Can you do more whips?
Do more whips when I'm back riding, sure. That sounds pretty straightforward. I've done some videos when I don't know what to title them, and it'll be like whips at Thunder Valley, and those don't usually do that well. But yeah, it really stinks with this. Obviously, you guys, I keep just raising my arm, and you know what I mean. But this year, I haven't even rode at Thunder Valley yet, and I always love riding Thunder Valley because the Whopper and what we call the gravity cavity, that little triple step up, you can throw fun whips on, and I haven't thrown a single whip off of those all year. So when I'm back on the bike, we're going to go to Thunder Valley. I'm not going to be focused on like hammering out laps. We're just going to throw some whips. So be on the lookout. It's going to be a few months, but I'll throw some whips for you.
What makes you the most irritated when it comes to YouTube?
I get salty, and it's something that I've tried to work on. Allison has tried to help me with a lot. I get really annoyed just at like repetitive questions. But what makes me the saltiest is just rude people. That's just a thing in general, not even YouTube. But people can be so mean when they're sitting behind a screen, even like talking about my crash video, and they're like, you didn't even check on the guy. And it's like, dude, I broke my wrist. I was in shock. I like got up. I didn't even grab my bike. I just walked over and told my mom I was hurt. She thought I was saying that my dad was like dying on the track, and she came up and was asking me where he was. And I'm like, no, it was me that got hurt. And then people will be all like, wow, dick move to not check on your friend. And it's like, dude, there was a lot going on. So just often it seems like people, they can sit there and watch the video 50 times and judge your decision that happened in milliseconds, and they can sit there and critique it and watch it in slow motion and be like, well, you should have done this. And it's like, things happen. So I don't know, I think my biggest, like what riles me up like it is right now is just when you know the situation and you did what you could in the moment, and then people go back and just fine-tooth comb just to say anything you did wrong in the whole circumstance, which sometimes can be frustrating. Like, yeah, man, I don't know. I broke my wrist. I was pretty preoccupied. Sorry.
When are you going to get a Yamaha?
I have a Yamaha, and I was riding my Yamaha when I broke my wrist. So I've had a Yamaha for, since 2005, 14 years. I've had a Yamaha for. So I have a Yamaha currently.
Can you do a video on all the mods you've done to your bike? Get well soon, brother.
Thank you. I feel like most of the mods I've done, like, as I did them, I did videos progressively. Like, you can go through, and some of them are kind of clickbaity, but like $1,000 in new parts on the bike or whatever. So I think pretty much all the mods I've done on the bike have been documented, and I don't really feel like there's a point now to like go through and show everything. But now that I have some downtime, maybe if I get this graphics kit, that'd be a good time to just kind of go and do a complete bike walk around. But what's always annoying with that is you do it, and then like your next time riding, you change something, and then people want a new bike walk around, and you're like, all I did was change the grips. But yeah, especially since I'm not riding, I can probably do one of those for you guys if that's something you'd be interested in seeing.
What's your dream car/truck?
Oh man, so like ultimate dream car would be a Ford GT. You know, the remake of the GT40, and now they have like the 2018 whatever GT. That's like dream car, super car. Something practical that I think would actually be cool would be a Focus RS. I actually drove my buddy Evans. That was a lot of fun. And you know, 4-door hatchback, you could like theoretically have car seats and kids in it and still have a fun car. And truck, I don't know, I'd like to say something like maybe even like a F2 or 350 if I had the money for that, as well as like a sweet toy hauler, fifth wheel kind of thing where we could go camping with it and have the bikes and stuff with like that. But just as like your normal practical, I actually just love my F-150. If I had the money to like get a new F-150 and just get something with an eco boost or something, but I think that's pretty practical. I try and be pretty sensible about those kinds of things.
Your dad just said yes. I don't know what that's about,
Yes.
but I love it.
He was probably saying yes to me making a questions and answer video, so there you go.
That makes sense. How much downtime from riding have you had since you got the Honda?
I saw that was from Kyle Productions, Kyle Howard, whose other account got blocked on Instagram because he's a jerk. So he's on his second account asking that. More than I'd like to admit, since getting the Honda. And I did have someone actually comment on my personal Facebook, one of my friends, Tyler. He was like, oh, you got to get rid of that bad luck Honda. But when I broke this, I wasn't even riding the Honda. But yeah, the Honda, I tore the ACL, so that was like 2 months I was off the bike. Broke the collarbone, so that was like 2 months. The herniated discs, I don't even know when that mixed in with everything, but I took like a month off the bike because of that. And now the wrist. So yeah, I've been off the bike quite a bit since getting the Honda, unfortunately. But at the same time, people could be like, oh, it's because of the Honda. You could be like, well, you know, it's because I moved to Denver or because I got Murphy. You know, there's many other things, but I don't think it's all the Honda's fault that, you know, I ran into Evan and broke my collarbone, or Chris crashed in front of me and I ran into him and broke my wrist. And of course, like I said, that wasn't even on the Honda. So I don't think it's fair to put any of that blame on the Honda itself.
Worst injury, and how long have you been riding? But you pretty much.
Yeah, worst injury, been riding since I was 3. So 25, going on 26 years here pretty soon.
When are you going to start rocking the earrings again?
I saw that one. I actually was wearing the earrings in a video not too long ago, I feel like. I wear them here and there. Sometimes I feel like a dork, like, oh, I'm 28 and I'm wearing earrings, and sometimes I put them on, I'm like, you look good, DeeO. So I don't know. I can throw them on for you here soon. Every time I wear them now, someone's like, oh, you got your ears pierced. It's like, no, they've been pierced for quite a while, but sure, I can wear them for you.
I like them.
Thank you.
Ever think about doing an older, mid-90s to early 2000s two-stroke bike build?
Nah, I don't have, you guys know, for the most part, I'm not like super mechanically inclined. I don't find joy in like cleaning the carb and putting the bike together and all this stuff. Like, my dad has that 98 and I have absolutely no desire to like restore that and build it up. That's not fun to me. Any time and effort I'd rather put into the 450 and just ride my main bike rather than do a project bike like that.
How can I get faster?
Just got to keep riding. There's many YouTube tutorials. I know like AJ Canzaro does some. You could get like the David Pingree videos. Murphy's going to be in frame. Hey, bud. Murphy. The pets are so annoying. But really just boils down to riding more, and you know the phrase practice makes perfect. It actually should be perfect practice makes perfect. You're not going to get better unless you're practicing the correct things, and I'm really guilty of it. If you watch, my knees aren't super tight on the bike, my elbows aren't always up, my head's not always up. So don't take me as an example, but just continuing to ride, doing the right things, really engraving those fundamentals into your riding and then building off of that. So really all you can do is continue to ride, and that's going to build your speed.
2 more. Are you going to make more MX versus ATV vids?
Nope.
Why don't you ever play Reflex anymore with yellow and white guy?
Do you know how old Reflex is?
I don't.
10 years. Get over it, guys. Reflex is 10 years old. We don't need to continue playing. I haven't even talked to White Guy. Last I saw, he was skiing, so I'm glad he's having fun. I think Yellow plays here and there, but I don't play video games. You could ask Allison. I don't just sit at my computer and play games. It's not how I enjoy spending my evenings, and especially not on a 10-year-old game. And if you're going to say, like, well, how about Monster Energy Supercross 2 or whatever, I have no desire to play it, and even less desire to play it while recording and uploading that. I'm sorry, it's just one of the things that I guess you kind of grow out of. But I guess that's going to do it. I don't know how long we recorded. It was a really long time. So if you watch this whole video, I appreciate it. If you asked a question, hopefully it was one that got answered. Allison was just reading them as they came in on Instagram, so I'm going to delete that post now so people won't keep asking. But I really appreciate you guys. I hope maybe you learned a little bit about me or whatever. And yeah, I'll continue to do stuff while I'm off the bike, not making MX versus ATV videos, but we'll continue to have different videos, and I'll keep you guys informed on the process of the wrist. Again, Instagram at DeeO, Snapchat at Return of DeeO. If you have a question, just fire it off there. I usually respond, so if it's something that you're wanting to know, and hopefully run into some of you guys at Denver Supercross, and that's going to do it. So Allison, thank you very much for your help.
You're welcome.
And as always, guys, until next time, take it easy if it's easy. Take it twice. Talk to you later.
You're the greatest change in me. So can you see you're all I'll ever need? And yes, that